Today, let's talk a little about comic books, specifically the X-Men and their villains. Welcome back to those of you who've been here before. Welcome to those of you who are new to the channel. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about X-Men villains and what sets them apart from other comic book villains. Now, I haven't talked a whole lot about comic books on here, but I'm a big comic book fan, and there seems to be a bit of a lull in the news on most of the other fronts, so now seems like as good a time as any to start squeezing in some other stuff. So, the X-Men, at least among Marvel comics, I don't read much DC, so the X-Men are fairly unique as far as their villains go, in that most of their villains want to kill them. And, like, it's not even anything personal, it's because they're mutants. Now, you've got a few that have personal grudges here and there, and you do have that with other heroes, but, like, Spider-Man, none of his villains want to kill him because he's a spider guy with spider powers. If they want to kill him, and I think it's mainly just one of his villains, the Green Goblin, then it's because he's a perpetual thorn in their side. Like the Vulture doesn't have any kind of like personal vendetta against Spider-Man and or Peter Parker. Basically, the Vulture just wants to not cross paths with him while he's in the middle of committing a crime. You know, Dr. Octopus is similar. I think he has a bit of a personal grudge against Spider-Man. Now, Norman Osborn, he hates Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And he's also completely crazy and definitely a murderer. So he's got what it takes to stick it to him. But like the Lizard, no. You know, the Shocker, Scorpion, no. Venom a little bit, but that's more the symbiote and Eddie Brock's kind of hatred of Spider-Man kind of fusing together. Although I think they've largely overcome that. So, yeah, you know, or take a look at, like the Avengers, you know. Now, for Ultron, it's a little personal, but there he mainly just wants to hurt Hank Pym. I don't even think he really wants to kill him. I think he wants him to suffer. So he wants to kill everyone around him. But even there, it's because they're connected to Hank Pym. It's not because they're Avengers. It's not because they have powers. You know, it's not because, it's not because they're a World War II super soldier and a guy in an armored suit, and et cetera, et cetera. You know, it's because they're just in Hank Pym's orbit. So with the X-Men, though, it's different. A lot of their villains want to kill them strictly because they're mutants. Like the Sentinels, they're designed specifically, it says capture or kill, but it seems to me like they want to kill them most of the time. You have them, you have the Right, which I believe that's the religious group, but I could be mistaken on that. You got the Friends of Humanity. You know, you just got all kinds of various groups for various reasons that want to take out the X-Men purely because they're mutants. And again, it's not like, oh, okay, so like, I suppose the Vulture, for instance, given a choice, I don't know that he'd even choose to kill Spider-Man. You know, like if he could just incapacitate him and get him out of the way so that he could do whatever it is he's going to do, I think he would do that. Although Toombs is a little crazy, he might kill him. But my point is, you know, there'd at least be some thought put into it. You know, X-Men villains, it's like, nope, we don't plan on capturing him unless we have some like further nefarious deed that they need them alive. There's no capture them to get them out of the way. They just want them gone, dead, deceased. And so, yeah, that's what they'll do. And you see this a little bit. You see this in the movies. Uh, the movies took it to a ludicrous extreme, where every single villain essentially was, let's kill all the mutants, except for Magneto and X-Men 1. You know, it was just hammered again and again and again, instead of showing some of the other villains that they face. Uh, so yeah, it kind of got stuck in a rut, and that's why that's a big reason why I get concerned personally about other adaptations. Whenever people are like, oh, you know, you can change a few things, and I'm like, you need to be careful changing those things, because you're going to change something, that change is going to become wildly popular, and then all of a sudden you've got to keep including that again and again and again and again when it makes no damn sense to do that. Like Magneto. It's not so much a change for Magneto, it's just that he's in every one of the X-Men movies. Okay? Magneto's not in every issue of the comic. He's up until recently-ish, when he became more of the friend side of the frenemy scale, you know, he showed up as a villain most of the time. So, yeah, it's crazy what happened there, and how almost all the movies end up, well, we've got this other villain doing their thing, but at the last minute it's really just going to become Magneto's going to twist things around and turn it into his plot. And it's just like, they did this in X-Men 2, X-Men 3, is it First Class? Is that the reboot? Days of Future Past. And then I'm surprised they didn't do it in X-Men Apocalypse, except he was already on Apocalypse's side. So there it was, oh no, the switcheroo now is he's going to become a hero to fight Apocalypse. So yeah, it's just it's the same thing over and over and over again, because one of the main producers just you know, Bryan Singer just doesn't know what to do. You know, he had an idea, and then the sequel idea wasn't bad because he copied large strokes of that plot from God Loves, Man Kills, which is one of the more well-known X-Men storylines. And then they tried to rush into the Dark Phoenix, which was a bad move. So anyway, so in the movies, you've seen a lot of the people just hate and despise mutants. Although they don't show the real depths that those people are willing to sink to fight the mutants. Those people in the movies, they're just fodder for Wolverine to kill for the most part. It's not until the Wolverine movie that you kind of see a little bit of it with the Reavers, but they don't go nearly far enough to, you know, show that these people, they're willing to transform themselves into cyborgs and robots and everything else, and just completely shed any ounce of humanity they had, all supposedly in defense of humanity from mutants. And I'm sure there's some kind of lesson in there about, you know, becoming what you hate and staring into the abyss until it stares back and all that stuff. But yeah, so X-Men villains, some X-Men villains are unique in this front, in that, you know, they just want to kill them. And it's not because they've gotten in the way of their dastardly plot or anything. It's purely because they're mutants. So they've got to go. And I mean, Chief, like the ultimate like symbol of all this is the Sentinels. And yeah, they are like the big problem. ultimately culminating in the more advanced ones like Master Mold and Nimrod or Bastion, who through the wonders of technology and magic is Master Mold and Nimrod combined and then magicked into the past and turned into a new form. But, you know, it's comics. That'll happen to you sometimes. You gotta watch out for that. Yeah, total side note, living in the Marvel or DC universe would probably be an absolute nightmare if you didn't have superpowers. And even then, it's only less of a nightmare, not so much an end to the nightmare. You know, not knowing if the person next to you is a Skrull or a robot or a clone or you from the future or something. Like, it'd be as mentally crushing as Lovecraft describes viewing the Elder Gods in the Cthulhu books. You just couldn't deal with reality, not knowing what's real constantly. But anyway, it's a little side note there. Should probably do a video all about that. But anyway, like I said, talk a little bit about some X-Men comics here in the lull between other news bits. So this is kind of a little bit of a segue. Probably be talking about other aspects of the comics, maybe some of the villains, probably the Sentinels specifically at some point. So keep an eye out for that. If there's anything in particular you guys want to hear about, let me know. I'd like to do if I can work out my schedule with someone else, I'd like to do a video of the X-Men movie adaptations, so that can talk about, you know, in my opinion, there's definitely some flaws there. But yeah, hopefully we'll do that in the future. But otherwise, folks, you know, like I said, let me know down in the comments if there's anything in particular you want to hear, don't want to hear. When it comes to comics, I mainly read the X-Men, but I have read other stuff. At some point in the near future, I'm going to be going back and looking at some of the early Spider-Man stuff. And I have read some of the Marvel space stuff. I have read a few DC books. So I'm not completely ignorant of what's going on over there. Well, I am as far as what's going on over there right now. Who knows? I think they've rebooted their universe 3 times since I read anything from them. But that's no exaggeration either. So anyway, thank you folks for watching, and we'll see you later.